What is up, guys? Welcome to the channel. You're looking at my 2014 Subaru WRX. I got this car for a pretty good deal. It's hitting the front end. It was also hitting the back. I'll go around the car and kind of go over what all is wrong with the car, what we're going to need to do. Full disclosure, I have no experience doing collision work. I'm an automotive master technician. I've been in the field for 12 years. I've done some body work here and there, some paint work, but I have no experience doing collision work. So we're going to kind of be learning together. I parted out a 2013 car, which is the first time I've ever parted out a car, which was kind of an experience in and of itself. I'd like to do a video on that as well. So I actually have a fair amount of the parts that are going to be needed to fix this car. Rad support, upper and lower, radiator, condenser, fenders, a lot of stuff. So I'm going to go over that as well. So real quick, I'll take you around the car and we'll look and see, how bad the damage is and what we're going to need to do.
All right, so as you can see, this thing was hit pretty good in the front end. The good news is the impact was actually in this corner, but it was above the frame rail. So frame rails are completely straight. That was one of the things when I looked at this car. I wanted a car that, I didn't have to pull frames on. Being that this is my first collision type job, I just didn't want to have to do that. So as you can see, this apron is pretty bent up. I actually cut the apron off the 2013 that I have, so I can weld that in. I have the core support, the upper, the lower. Fenders are, this one's not as bad, but I'm definitely going to be replacing it. Hood is completely destroyed. Let's see what else. This fender is actually missing. A lot of these brackets and stuff. What else? The washer bottle. I don't know if I mentioned radiator condenser. And you go around. The doors are, all the door seams are good. There's no sign of any kind of wrinkling in the roof anywhere else. It was also hit in the back here. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to try and fix this quarter panel or just replace it. I think I'm just going to replace it and weld another one in, but we'll see. The rest of it isn't too bad. It's kind of pushed in here, so I'm going to have to pull that out. This quarter panel is good. There's no dents or wrinkling in that. Probably wondering why there's Forester wheels on this. I actually just restored a Forester XT, which I wish I would have filmed. It's a pretty cool car. But as you can see, I took the wheels off the WRX and put them on here. This car's pretty sweet. It's a 5-speed manual transmission, super rare car. I haven't decided if I'm selling this car or keeping it. All right, so let's start taking this thing apart and see what we're working with. All right, so got most of this taken apart. As you can see, no damage to the timing cover. You know, the rad was kind of pushed forward into the engine, but there was no damage done, nothing broken. Everything looks good there. Even the belts look okay. This lower core support's pretty bent up, but I may be able to straighten that out, which would be nice. So let's keep plugging away here and see what else we can find. Alright, so we got this thing all taken apart. Got the fuse panel out of the way. As you can see, this thing is kind of all crumpled, but it from here back is completely straight. It kind of did its job, absorbed the impact. So what I think I'm going to do here is drill out all these spot welds, cut this thing out of here, this whole section here, and here I have my whole section that I cut out off the parts car, and I'm going to do the same thing, drill all these spot welds, cut this thing off, and weld this whole section onto this car. Alright, so as you can see, this apron, most of it is completely straight. Basically the damage stops about right here. This is all wrinkled here. This is completely straight from here forward. So the issue is, in order for me to get to all these spot welds and replace this whole thing, it would just be senseless because there's nothing wrong with it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just cut this flush, and then I'm going to just stitch weld this whole thing. I'm going to stitch weld the new piece on to here. So what I want to do, now that I got this car completely disassembled, at least the front of it, I wanted to kind of just take inventory of what stuff is still good and what stuff needs to be replaced with new parts. So I went ahead and just kind of separated everything. This is the stuff that is in working order and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm going to reuse these things. This is all the stuff that needs to be replaced. I have radiator, condenser, coolant reservoir, upper rad hose, the housing for the fuse box, washer fluid reservoir, the left side fan, the hood. I already have, the fenders, we already knew we needed those in the hood. The upper rad support, wheel well. There's like a bracket for the driver's side fender, just some other miscellaneous pieces. Obviously, we didn't get to the back yet. That's going to be another day. But I wanted to kind of just take inventory of what parts need to be replaced, what parts are still good, and then I'm going to go in my shed. I have all the parts from my parts car. I'm going to take those all out and see what I have and what I still need to order from the dealer, or I can maybe find some used parts at local salvage yards. So we're going to go ahead and do that next. All right, so what I want to do is get the fender apron and the battery tray removed from the parts car frame rail so I can get it ready to weld onto the new car. Hi, buddy. What are you doing? You got a lot done already. What are you doing? What are you doing? Here. What? You got a lot done. Those are all the parts car. Parts. Oh, you still got yeah, I got this all cut out. Yeah. That is working. Yeah.
Hey, Dad, Daddy, you got your work boots on. You're ready.
You're on camera.
Say
There
hi.
it is, right there.
Where's the pen?
Yeah.
Guess what? We did from Easter.
What do you need? You need that? You need a flashlight?
He got his own tool set.
What?
Tool set. You're not on it.
You got a tool set? For what? Easter. When did we start doing Easter?
From your mom. Easter bunny. Comes in like a little full box.
All right, so we were able to get these pieces cut off of the parts car, and as you can see, this will fit nicely in here. This will sit in there. Our fender apron will fit nicely in there. I'm going to stitch weld that in. Then redo all these spot welds. I'm going to spray this once we're all done to match the car. So if you're wondering what I'm going to do there. So that's about it. Let's get this thing, let's get these spot welds ground down and get this thing ready to get tacked into place. All right, so got this all ground down to bare metal. Kind of have it mocked up. So I think what I want to do is I want to tack this in place. Over here, where I have the apron coming across, I actually took a piece of metal and I'm going to bridge this and then stitch weld it in. So that'll make a nice strong structure. So what I want to do, like I said, is get this tack welded in, and then I want to get my upper rad support in place to make sure everything fits. And then I also want to I need to get a hood, and then I can get my fenders kind of mocked up, get the hood mocked up, make sure all my body lines line up, everything seems good before I completely weld this in permanently. So let's get it tacked in. All right, so we got the apron tacked in place. I got the upper rad support fitted. It's kind of mocked up. I wanted to make sure all the spot welds lined up on both sides. I had to remove the lower core support, one of the braces. There's like an upper and a lower brace. The lower brace I was able to straighten out. This upper brace is pretty twisted and mangled, so I want to go ahead and replace this. So I'm going to go ahead and try and see if I can locate that, a hood, and there's a fender bracket I wanted to get. That way I can kind of get the fenders on, get the hood on, get this lower rad support brace on, and make sure all my body lines line up. Everything is straight and the way it should be before I finish kind of tack welding everything together. So that's going to be it for today until I can get those parts sourced. So we'll see you next episode.